in the room who is out of control, it's very, very scary. Now, those of you who have worked with couples where no emotion is in the room, quite frankly, that's actually a little bit worse, right? But if you have some very, very highly activated couples, it can be intimidating, right? So if you can control that, sometimes that feels preferable, because as a therapist, you can kind of keep control. So that's kind of what they liked. So at the time, Sue Johnson was working under the direction of Les Greenberg as a graduate student working on her doctoral dissertation. And she said that she felt very, very confident in working with individuals, but she just couldn't get a handle on working with couples. And she was working under the same approach. She was working cognitive behaviorally and sort of doing that thing. And she said she just couldn't figure it out. She said she was feeling very, very unsuccessful. And she was up in Ottawa, Canada. And she seems really amazing. This is back in the 80s. She said she took her tapes and had hundreds of hours of couples work. And she went to the library and just started watching them over and over and over and over again. And she said she was determined to figure out what was going on with these couples. She just said, I have got to get, I got to get this figured out. And so she started noticing patterns, that there was something going on between these couples that made sense to her. And so she is the founder of emotionally focused couples therapy, and it came out of her dissertation work. Isn't that awesome? And so Sue Johnson then went back to her dissertation advisor and said, I'm starting to notice some patterns. I want to keep looking at these couples and let's figure out what's going on. The cool thing is that she hadn't associated the attachment theory to this yet. This actually came later. What she noticed, first of all, is that what happens in couples work is that couples have each individual couple, how do I say this? Each individual couple fall apart in a uniquely special way. So it's like they work in a way that is like a unique dance. And that each couple does this thing that if you watch that couple long enough, it's pattern oriented. And so if you watch that one couple long enough, she could start to discern unique patterns in that one couple. And she figured that if I can watch them long enough, and if I can help them see what they're doing and slow them down long enough to where they start recognizing what their particular needs are and where those things are falling apart, so that I can help them understand what's going on, then they can start undoing those things. Now, she had not connected this to Bowlby's attachment theory quite yet. She discovers this later on. So what they discovered through Sue Johnson's dissertation is a theory that would facilitate our inborn need to love and be loved by a unique, irreplaceable other. They discovered that an approach that would move couples to an intimate responsive connection. So basically what they discovered is it was okay for couples to really, really bond to and need one another. And they were basically saying that it's not pathology to desperately need another. And that's so, to me, I read this and I think, isn't that strange that was so revolutionary in couples work, right? It seems so obvious, but that was very, very new at the time.
Well, they never really needed to answer the question, because couples stay together because of reciprocal function.
Right.
My parents, my grandparents, they were together because mom stayed home and she had her duties and dad went off to work and had his duties, and so that's really what maintained the bond. The marriage was maintained by reciprocal function, and as soon as women started doing what men did and men started doing what women did, then all of a sudden something new had to emerge to hold us together. And this sort of emotional bonding wasn't probably occurring with my great-grandparents. They were staying together for the reasons. But now all of a sudden what's left, and it's the heart of what matters in a couple relationship. So it becomes more about the emotional connection than it becomes about the function. And so this is emerging in the 80s, right? And so now we're like, oh gosh, this reciprocal functioning model that we had in place is not working anymore because culture has changed. And women are doing what men are doing, and men are doing what women are doing. And now we can no longer just depend on the other person to meet some sort of function need, because we can do the function of the other person.
That's really true. That's really, really true. Yeah, just up until really, I'd say probably World War II, that a lot of marriage was very, very function oriented. So yeah, it opens up a whole new world of couples coming together and staying together because they're in love, not because of the function. That's really good. Okay, so they're not. So reciprocal function. Okay, so here it says it is important in couples counseling to negotiate. Is it important in couples counseling to negotiate who takes out the trash and does the dishes, as these only become symbols of whether or not the couple feel loved and can count on their partner to comfort them and to be there for them? So I guess so in this question here, the question becomes: is the content what matters? Is it more about taking out the trash and doing the dishes? Remember what we talked about at the beginning, several weeks ago? That seems to be what they bring in as what's going on as the problem, but really what they're talking about more has to do with several layers deeper, which is, am I cared for? Is she there for me? Does he look out for me? Does she have my back? And those things are being manifest by, is he helping me with the trash? Is she helping me with the dishes? So the content function takes care of itself when partners feel as if they are looking out for each other. If they're doing those things and they feel deeply cared for and seen and known, then the function takes care of itself. And so like Dr. Fry had said at the very beginning of the hour, we're flip-flopping it. They bring the content in and we don't sort of ignore it. We listen to it and we give them a little bit of time to go through that. But as quickly as we can, I move away from the content and we start really going deeper into what that actually is symbolic of. And we go to those deeper attachment needs.
Or what we experience if we just go on, if we go from symptom to symptom. So let's say we start with the trash. Couple says, man, he doesn't take the trash out, drives me crazy. And so then we say to them, well, let's come up with a token reinforcement to help the husband take his trash out. So set your alarm on your phone on Tuesday mornings to take the trash out. And so he's successful with the trash. Did that resolve the marital problems?
You're doing that forever.
No, because it's symptom replacement. Yeah. If it's not the trash, it's something else. All I need is a symbol to represent what's going on inside, right? A symbol of non-acceptance, right? A symbol that I'm not important. So we'll choose the trash as a target to represent that symbol, but even if we find a way for him to take the trash out, there'll be some other reason that will pop up in its place. Or it'll be like, well, he did take the trash out, but he didn't really mean it. He's only doing it because he came to therapy to help take the trash out. It's not really important to him, right? And so then we get caught up in this sort of symptom replacement. It's like a whack-a-mole. We hit one mole and the other one pops up. Another mole, the other one pops up. And we don't need to keep hitting the holes, we need to plug the machine. So we figure out like what is driving the source of all these whack-a-moles? Because they're just going to keep replacing themselves over and over again. And that was really the problem with couples therapy, was that we were whack-a-moling things in couples therapy. We weren't paying attention to the underlying issues that are representing, right, what the complaints. And what are those underlying issues? Go back to our last lecture. Attachment, right? The attachment needs, the unmet attachment needs are driving the whack-a-mole content, right? So the husband to take the trash out, what unmet attachment needs is that related to? That's where you guys start linking things, right? Husband doesn't take the trash out. He never takes the trash out. I ask him every week to take the trash out, and he always forgets. He leaves. He always forgets.
Which attachment need is it?
Yeah, which attachment is that? Right.
Comfort.
Security.
Security. We got a little bit, but it really narrowed down like with the four. Comfort. We'll go with, okay, and then the acceptance, protection, acceptance, right? Protection, acceptance, comfort, and emotional regulation, right? Okay, so of the three primary, protection, acceptance, comfort, which one is the most likely for? I think it's a combination of perhaps acceptance and protection.
So you think it, you said most, so I was really right there with you.
Yeah.
You said most, so it's
Yeah, so it's kind of, but we don't really know until we have other complaints, right? So if it's the trash, but it's also about you don't ever want to be with me. We combine taking out the trash and never want to be with me, and also we've got a theme going here. So So it's leading us a little bit further away from protection, a little more towards acceptance, right? And so these complaints, now go and think about all your clients and all their complaints, and start thinking about how those complaints relate to unmet needs. Because people don't come in therapy about trash. They don't. If it could be resolved that easily, they would figure out a way. They'd find a book. It's never about the trash. It's powerful because it's about the unmet needs, right? They're being manifested in the stories. And so if we can begin to start to think conceptually about linking the story to those unmet needs, then we have a roadmap where we want to go in therapy, right? Once those unmet needs emerge, then all of a sudden the therapy starts to happen in that. Yeah. Make sense? Yeah, okay.
All right. Okay, so the basic framework for emotionally focused therapy is kind of consists of these things. So just kind of really quickly, and we've talked about this quite a bit, is very, very experiential, which means is that what we try to do as often as we possibly can is to keep everything experiential, meaning that rather than talking about sort of what happened then and there, we try to keep it in the what's happening here and now. We move as much as we can towards the here and now and into enactments in the room. The only time we wouldn't do that is when it feels like there isn't enough safety in the relationship. But the beauty of couples work is that you have, of course, both partners in the room. And so you can do a lot of really, really good work with both partners right there in the room together. So oftentimes, as much as you can, you turn them towards one another and you have them talk to one another about what their experience is and what they're feeling. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about a lot of these primary emotions, like instead of the anger that they're eliciting, you talk about the sorrow and the sadness and the loneliness, and you have them look right in the eyes of their partner and have a brand new experience together in the room with one another, and you spend a lot of time having a new experience together. So very, very experiential, because that's where change takes place. Change does not take place based on insight. If insight's great, but that's not where change happens. Change happens through new, powerful experiences. Okay? It's Gestalt, which means, it's here and now. It's implicitly focused, meaning Gestalt just means, once again, it's focused on the here and now. And this just to me means that oftentimes a Gestalt intervention is where if something is referred to, again, outside of the room, you bring it back into the room. So if somebody's talking about something that happened with their father, I would say, bring your father into the room and let's sit him in this chair and tell him what you would have told him. And I do that all the time. I do it. I personally, in my clinical work, do a lot of what they call empty chair techniques, which is you bring whatever was going on, and don't just tell me what happened back then. I say, tell him right now. What would have you said? And you're bringing it into the here and now, and oftentimes it elicits a very powerful emotional experience, and then we slow that thing down and we process what is it like for you to talk to your dad right as if he were here, and just really spend a lot of time on that. It focuses on family systems, the construction of reoccurring patterns in couples interactions. So it does pay attention to how what's going on in the room, in the couple, oftentimes has a lot of roots in family of origin. And we did talk quite a bit about this in our last lecture. So it pays attention to the fact that there's a lot of, there's a lot of, sometimes what's being played out with me and my partner is the right person, it's a scripted thing that is being played out from unresolved stuff from the past. And so we make a lot of sense of that, and sometimes in many ways it's very, very healing for the partner to recognize that what you're experiencing is what I have not made sense of from my partner or from my past. But again, we do that in a very, very here and now experiential way. We don't spend a lot of time necessarily picking apart my issues from my mom or my dad. We say, why is that important in this relationship right now? And how can we heal that in the here and now? So it stays really, really here and now.
You guys think about your family theories class, and then your intro class for this marriage and family track. What do you know about family systems? Right, there's two different types of collegiality. Remember what they are? How things interact with each other. This would be really impressive. There's two types of ways in which families interact with each other, two ways of conceptualizing